Good morning, Southwest Florida, and welcome to the American Tradesman with my guest, Juan Silva from American Electrical, Brian Prevett from Prevett Plumbing, and Gerald Prevett from Prevett Plumbing. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Bob.
New Year.
Brian, did you get your New Year's thing going on? Are you ready for your New Year, Brian? Do you have any resolutions, I guess I'm asking? Not new socks or shoes.
Try to be more patient than last year.
Trying to be what?
Try to be more patient than last year.
Patience is a virtue, isn't it?
Not want to choke as many people.
I can only say that. My new year, I'm past. I can only say my new resolution, Juan, is to forget everything in the last year. How about that? You with me?
Oh, yeah. Forget the last year, start the new.
This is a new year to start everything going, right, Gerald?
That's right.
I mean, Gerald, I got to get a haircut. Does that count as something new?
That's it.
Well, I want to welcome everybody to the show, and I want to thank you for the new year. This is going to be a great year. I can feel it in my body. What do you think?
I'm thinking instead of a haircut, a perm.
Oh, perm.
The perm's coming back this year.
Oh, yeah. Let your soul glow.
Juan's already rhyming for the new year. 2020, he's rhyming. Remember what I said about 2021? It's a subliminal message. Just keep doing the subliminal.
Oh, yeah, we go.
Remember, there's a subliminal message for 2020. What's that one?
Trump.
All right, there you go. Just subliminally put it out there. So, fellas, one of the biggest things I want to start the new year off on is about renovations and remodels, because that has been a big key problem probably throughout the last 100 years in this world. Remodeling, people finding some contractors that are worthy enough, right, Brian? I mean, you got to understand what you're doing out there. Sometimes a lot of people, hire cabinet guys and Home Depots and box stores. I mean, we see the battle on a daily basis where they walk in and Home Depot says, we have a cabinet guy, don't we? How's that work? I mean, every day I wonder that. I mean, I went to a fireplace guy and the guy goes to me, oh, I'll send you out an electrician. So I looked over and I go, oh, you have your own electricians? He goes, yeah, we have an electrician. One, he plugs in the plug. I got nervous when he said that about the grill. I was thinking to myself, well, here's a guy just said he's got an electrician, but he says he just plugs the grill in. And then I said to him, does he have a license or what do you say? Oh, no, he's just our guy in the back. Does that sound good?
It's crazy.
Crazy. And that's one of the things that we try to, I guess, bring up on this show with our guests out there, and is to understand what we do in business, right, Brian? I mean, what it takes to run this business and then what it takes to get a remodel and renovation done and done correctly. And the biggest part about it all is, Gerald, is permitting, right?
That is correct.
Permitting the right jobs for the right things that you're doing. And that's really what we're here to help you out. And I wanted to understand that anytime you guys, any of you calls, you can call Brian over there at Prevett Plumbing. What's that number, Brian?
239-596-5533.
Gerald, Prevett, Gerald, I mean, let's go back and say, I kind of lost myself. I should have said, don't fret.
Call Prevett.
That's that phone number now.
239-596-5533.
That's a plumbing contractor. Is that correct? You're a licensed state plumbing contractor.
That is correct. Master plumber.
Master plumber. And Juan, you're a master electrician and you're a master licensed company, right?
Yes.
So this is about people that are licensed companies that we work with. I'm a general contractor. I'm a licensed general contractor. And some of the things we're going to talk about today is, some of the things that we run in on a daily basis. And one of them, Gerald had a conversation with me about earlier, Gerald, about permitting a job. A general contractor can permit it, but he has to have subcontractors that are subcontracted onto their permit, correct?
That is correct. A general contractor, you can bring him in to take a look at your job, bid your job out. When he goes to work on your job, you have to ensure that all plumbing is done by a plumber. As a general contractor, he is not licensed to touch any plumbing. The same goes for electrical work. He cannot do any electrical work whatsoever. He has to bring in a licensed electrician. This is a state code, so you have to have this done. And he has to have a permit. It has to have all that in his scope. So if he tells you that he's going to replace cabinets in your vanity, that's not going to cover your shower. So you have to make sure that on your permit, it is also stating the exact scope of work that's going to be done. If your contractor says, oh, well, I've got guys, but, he does not bring in a licensed plumber, this is not going to be good for you.
This is what you're saying, Gerald. Is understandable because as a general contractor and a licensed subcontractor, electrical contractor, over the years, I've known that if a general contractor does a kitchen remodel and a bathroom remodel, right, Brian? We automatically know, one, that we have to give a subcontractor's agreement sheet, right?
Yep, we have to do that. It's page 2.
It's a page 2, and that means that general contractor, when he walks up to your company or your home to do the renovation, he probably should have a plumber and electrician with him at that time. Does that sound like a smart move?
That is correct. Or else they should meet him at some point on site to look at it so they can give their price for their scope of work, because even if he's going to do a permitted, vanity bathroom remodel, he still has to have a licensed plumber to pull the plumbing, reattach the plumbing. He has to have a licensed electrician to redo the electrical, bring that up to code with your GFI and your arc fault outlets. So, I mean, he's got to have those people on board. Those are things he cannot do himself. He is not licensed for that.
That's one thing I kind of want to bring up is, I've had a contractor do that to me where he tried to bring me in on the backside.
It's already done?
It's already done.
He just wants you to sign on to
wants
his
you to sign
permit.
off.
Yeah, he wants me to sign on those permit. And I'm like, yeah, I got to see this work. Walls closed. What did you do? What's the scope of work? And
I always refuse.
I just couldn't.
I refuse because you're putting your name on there for the liability for anything that goes wrong, and you didn't even do anything. other than sign on to it.
Exactly.
So for the audience out there listening, the understanding of what we go through from a remodel procedure, I guess you could say that, right?
Yeah.
Procedure. The procedure is for myself, when I go out to a job, is first I'm going to assess to make sure that I can probably get some pipe if I have to dig under the ground, or if it's a condo, that's another story in itself, right, Brian? So I one of the things from a contractor standpoint is we assess the job first, myself. A lot of times I try to bring the subcontractors along. Sometimes that's not possible, but I do know pretty much capabilities of what's in the contract and what's got to be done. And for the audience to listen, I want you to understand, if a general contractor shows up and he tells you, we don't need a permit, then I would suggest highly to tell that man to take a walk, right, Juan?
Yeah, because you don't want to put yourself in that kind of position down the road.
Now, permits are to protect the homeowner, right? I mean,
Yes.
they're protecting you, the homeowner. So if you think that it's easier for you to just get by without a permit, then I would suggest highly to not call for us, because we're going to ask you for a license, and we're going to be able to take care of you, from top to bottom. And one of the things I know from a contractor standpoint, and I find out when I go to jobs, not only from electrical, but I show up and sometimes the job is halfway done and somebody didn't show up.
Yeah.
I have a few stories we'll talk about in a minute, but one of the things I can tell you is a customer gave half the deposit, Brian, 20 grand, and hasn't seen him in 3 months. And all he tells me is he's bringing the tops and the countertops back. So that means he's got the cabinets. This is what he didn't even get the doors on. So he's got no tops. The wires are sticking all over. And then he tells me a whole story. But Gerald, I wanted you to go back to you for a minute, because one of the stories you had was just as interesting as mine. And let's hear that story.
So, we work with many property managements and HOAs throughout Collier and Lee County. We were dispatched a work order for a leak between 2 units to inspect it. They already had a roundabout idea of what it was. While on site, the young lady says, well, can you take a look at my shower? The ceiling is wet above my shower. So, I have my moisture meter with me because, I have multiple companies. So I take the moisture meter, I put it in the ceiling, and it's through the roof on moisture. And I said, yes, ma'am, there's an issue from above with either the shower or the P-trap or the connection somewhere. She says, well, just last year they got the shower redone. I said, well, that's definitely something they need to take a look at. I said, because, whoever that plumbing contractor was, didn't do it correctly. She says, well, no, they had a little bit of work done. It was done by a general contractor. And I said, well, no, who was their plumbing contractor? And so they had brought a general contractor in. The upstairs had a lot of work done to include the shower. This means the totally redone drain, shower pan, everything was totally redone. They liked the work that they had and suggested to the downstairs, who then he done the downstairs. Now, this guy is a general contractor. And I said, well, I can look on your permit right quick, like in Collier County, and find out who your plumber was and try to go from there, because that should be covered under your warranty. So I put in the address without the unit number, just the street address, and it pulls up, permits for things done in the past. I said, there's no permit. She says, no, I think the guy said there was no permit needed. And I said, no, ma'am, that's 100% false. I said, anytime, and you are in a commercial setting because you're in a condo, anytime you do any drain work with a shower or anything like that, there has to be a permit pulled.
Did you say condo?
They were the second and the first floor on the
So
condo.
this is a high rise or is it low rise?
Well, it's just a 2-story building. So, I mean, there's an upper and lower condo, but both of them had their shower redone by the same general contractor. Same thing with all the work that was done for the electrical, everything. This general contractor did everybody's work. So he never pulled a permit, and he also never had an electrician nor a plumbing person come in. Now, this is a year later, and all of a sudden there's a leak down into the downstairs unit. And, you know, I'm going to have to bring in my second company to come in and deal with the wet area. But, I mean, there's possibly going to be repercussions for the upstairs shower because without cutting open that ceiling, which, you know, we're going to do when we do the remediation portion, there's no way to know about, you know, what the actual connection is and where the breakdown is, because if there's an issue with the pan, that means the whole shower has to be retorn out and redone, and this time permitted if they go with a reputable company. You know, I hate because I know they spent good money on that remodel, and now here it is a year later and they're stuck, and they got a general contractor. But this is where you as the audience have to realize a general contractor cannot do all of it. So a general contractor is also going to have a plumber come in. They are also going to have an electrician come in. There is no way around that in any way, and they must pull a permit. If a general contractor does not pull a permit for the job he's going to do for you, you do not want his work, because if he doesn't want the county to inspect it to ensure that you have a quality job, there's something wrong there. He's going to take a shortcut somewhere.
You just said it right there. I mean, a lot of times I find that contractors really aren't contractors, right? I mean, when you say I'm a contractor, you know you can get a license for pretty much anything and say that you're a contractor, right? So if a person tells you out there in the audience that he doesn't need to pull the permits, give us a call at the American Contractor and we'll let you know. That's 239-353-4389, right, Juan? Give me a call and I'll tell you. And I got a story later on to talk about, but it's funny that you hear that and then you hear people get in trouble, right? I mean, one of the things you said is he's a general contractor.
That's right. He is a licensed general contractor.
So understanding of a general contractor's license, so we're all on the same page. CRC is a certified registered contractor. So that means he can do framing, he can do drywall, certified residential contractor. That's what he can do. Mm-hmm. A CBC, certified building contractor. We're all on the same page, right? CBC. So a certified building contractor can only do up to 4 stories, right? I know that for a fact. So I'm a CBC, and I know I can only do 4 stories and lower. In a CGC, he can do high rises, right?
He can go all the way.
So when a guy says to you, audience, I hope you're listening, certified residential contractor, he cannot take any plumbing fixtures. He cannot take a drywall. He cannot do any remodels. He cannot do anything with that license except frame. Okay, so certified residential contractor is really a framing contractor. A certified building contractor can remodel bathrooms, anything he wants to, up to 4 floors. So if your building is less than 4 floors, or is a home or something that's low rise, you can do that all day from a CBC. A CGC is above 4 floors.
And they both still have to have your plumbers and electricians. So it doesn't matter if you're CRC, CBC, or CGC, you still have to bring plumbers and electricians on board.
Yes. Any sub. I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, people understand if they touch the air conditioning, they got to bring in an air conditioning sub.
That's correct.
This is a general contractor cannot do any mechanical work. Right, Brian?
Right.
And I'm saying that because a lot of times I find that people get a general contractor's license, come down here out of college, and next thing you know, they're remodeling buildings, right? And one of the things that people don't understand is if a guy touches anything to do with mechanical, a roofing contractor has to have a license on that job. Not the general contractor. He has to have a roofing contractor. A gas company, right, Brian? Has to have his own gas license and his own gas company. You can't hire a guy to put in a generator, hypothetically, right?
So just there's not an all-in-one, basically.
No.
We're all on the same page.
The general contractor is a community organizer, right?
And there are several,
He's a Barack Obama.
several big companies out there that are doing just that.
He's the president.
They are trying to do full remodels. And I see the ads. They're so bold as to post ads on TV where they are going to come in and they are holding a CBC or a CGC license, and they're going to come in. They're going to do your cabinets. They're going to do your tile, your plumbing. They're going to do the full remodel. Do not be fooled. This is not the way to go because they cannot.
Wow. We're not going to wow you. All right?
They cannot touch you that plumbing legally.
I know that. I hate to cut you off, but I got to tell you that drives me because a general contractor will go in and do all the work all the time. And the guys they're paying on the side, right, Brian? They're paying cash to the guys that's on the side. I guarantee that. That's not a book thing. This is the problem that we have in Collier County, Lee County, Southwest Florida, probably because there's abundance of work here, and people they're selling cash out for everything. And I would suggest highly to do just exactly what we're telling, right, Gerald?
That is exactly right. And if you're in a condo, don't be fooled by a general contractor. Anything in a condo is considered commercial, and you better believe the county wants that permit. It doesn't matter what it is. The county wants it permitted. So do not make the mistake of your contractor saying, oh, it doesn't need to be permitted. It doesn't fall under a certain dollar amount, or it doesn't fall under certain requirements. If it's in a condo, they want it permitted because they want to make sure it's done correctly for the liability between floors. I mean, that's plain and simple.
It's what you're saying is it's about the government and about the county and how they want to make sure that we're doing it the right way. But as a homeowner, as an owner of that house, that condo, that unit, be smart about it. I mean, it's not about them trying to do this. It's about what you need to protect yourselves from, unless that you feel confident enough to inspect every trade that they're taking care of for you. Yeah, and I will tell you, that's another story in itself.
I mean, there's no way you could be knowledgeable enough to know exactly what's right and what's wrong. That's why.
Usually they say, we handle it in-house so we have control of the scheduling and getting the jobs done. When you hear people say that should be a red flag because they actually should, their main job should be their organizational skills and scheduling skills.
We'll be sending a plumbing contractor over to your house. Yep. We're going to be sending an electrical contractor. They run their own schedules, right, Juan?
Yeah.
We schedule with you, right?
Yep.
But we also run the schedulings through you. And you know the problem with most people is they like communication. I mean, I find over the years that people don't get talked to enough. I mean, I've been to so many places and remodels and so many jobs, and the first thing out of their mouth is, boy, I just wish that guy would call me back. I mean, that's what I hear. I wish he would just call me back once or twice. And I know that's the way I feel. I mean, when I build something, I'm like a lunatic, right? Brian, that's the question every day. Juan?
Well, the worst thing to do is, you make a phone call, you leave a voicemail, you send an email, and no responses. And of course, we're on the trades, we're out in the field, we're busy, but at least a response back.
What do you mean? Nobody answers the emails?
Nobody answers the email. you gotta start being tricky and send over that red receipt. You know what I mean?
I don't think that works anyways. I got to tell you, now they say the texting is the best way to deal with it.
Texting, yeah, or you can use Slack. But just to make sure that you respond back and give a heads up and say, hey, what's the progress?
Yeah, I got to tell you, we are very much scheduling freaks, right, Brian? And I think with some of the parts of most businesses is that the organizational skills comes down to scheduling. I mean, I said earlier about procedures and policies. We all have them, right, Brian? And we follow through those because we need to, from your standpoint, from the audience standpoint. One of the things Gerald's talking about is that you have a general contractor out there, and I'll tell you another thing that I have my story about was that the guy presumed himself as a general contractor, but the general contractor was the general contractor's friend of the friend of the general contractors. So they can say they had a general contractor, right, Gerald?
That's it.
That's all they can do. And then they know that they can go to that guy that's a friend of a friend if they had to pull the permit, right?
That's right.
So all I got to say is, hey, I'm A1 contracting, and I can remodel your bathroom, and I come in, and if I need to get a permit, I can pay that guy, what, 10%, 15%, Juan? Yeah. That's what they do, is they make a deal with another guy that has the license. And the licenses in this county and this state fly all over the place, right, Brian? It's just part of what goes on in Southwest Florida in the building industry. And I'll tell you, I mean, sometimes for us, this is what drives rates to the ground. It drives a lot of abilities to get even a good tech, right? I mean, a tech is even a problem because those guys are working for those guys on the side and they're making their money and they don't need to. They don't need a company. All they need to do is just work for that contractor that's giving them the side work, paying in cash.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against the guy that works out of his van or his truck, but, I mean, you want a vehicle that pulls into your driveway that looks legitimately like a company.
Yeah, I would stay very look. I mean, look at the side of the truck, make sure there's a license number on it.
Exactly. Typically, they're going to be on the fender, front fenders, or in the rear door, somewhere around there, and you'll see the license number.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you just hit it. I mean, next time the audience has a problem with the outside, I mean, if you're getting a renovation or a remodel or building a house or anything, if somebody pulls up in a truck and they're here to work, it's legally, right, Brian? It's illegally. You have to put your license number on the truck, front quarter panel, and the back. That's something that nobody in Southwest Florida seems to, fight against because it's just too much craziness. Over in Miami, you put some ladders up on the truck, and I got to say, it's gone.
Yeah.
But you go downtown, it's crazy. They can call you back right quick and say you got to get a license. But you got to have a license. And that was one of the things I would tell people in the procedure is to look at the vans. Look if there's license numbers on them. Look if they're a company. We've already sent this, sunbiz.org, right, Joe?
Yeah.
It's not hard. Look up sunbiz.org. That would give you the understanding if the guy's a company, right?
That's right.
What's the other one, Brian?
MyFloridaLicense.com.
MyFloridaLicense.com. Those are two websites that all you have to do is plug that guy's name, that guy's company in. It'll tell you everything about him. Those two websites will tell you everything. And I suggest highly, if you have a problem with any of those, give us a call. We'll be happy to help you. Right, Brian? What's that number over Prevet?
239-596-5533.
All right. Well, Gerald, I got to tell you, I wanted to kind of go back and touch base with that little bit about that general contracting. What happened at the end of this?
So I'm still scheduled to go in there for the remediation portion. When I do, I'm going to open up the ceiling in the first floor to check to see what the problem may be with the second floor shower.
So this probably been leaking for a while. It's not just happened
Oh,
overnight.
yeah. It's finally soaking through the
Probably
sheetrock.
the shower pan was leaking since they started it. Because if we're telling about a year into it, think about it. How long could it really be leaking? Shower pan was probably
like I said,
installed wrong.
the general contractor was lazy and cut corners, and that's something, if he's not going to be willing to pull the permit, and he's going to be that lazy about a permit, then he's also probably going to be lazy about his work. And since he was never pulling, a subcontractor in, that says worlds about the general contractor. So that's something you have to really realize is who is this general contractor going to have on his side? If he comes in by himself and, we'll get it all taken care of. If he has nobody on his side, such as a subcontractor, this general contractor is not the one you want.
Now, you say it right now, but I would ask very clearly to have the subcontractors show up with them or bring them. Ask them, who's doing the plumbing? Bring the plumbing contractor. And if I was the audience, I would suggest highly to say to them, who are you a licensed contractor? Right?
Yeah, normally, on the electrical aspect, I can say, with the GCs that I work with, we get invited in to look at the project. They shoot us over the files, whatever the scope of work, and we walk the job together. And then this is the typical process. So you'll have the subcontractor walk with the GC and look at the scope of work. At that point, the subcontractor or myself, the electrician, would say, okay, these are the areas that we're going to have issues. We're going to have to bring this up to code,
Yeah, a lot
so
of
on and
times
so
that-
forth.
That's right. You just said it. And then you can guide them in lighting and everything else.
Exactly. So then, the questions start coming up. Well, what do they want to do here? What do they want to do here? Do they want to add more lights or whatever the case may be? And as in plumbing side too, the plumbers will say, or the AC guys will say, hey, this needs to be done, or, the ducting needs to be upgraded, whatever the case may be. But your subcontractors come in.
And the biggest thing for that is the liability. This person now, 1 year down the road, really, there's no permit, so what is there to say about liability? I don't know if this general contractor is going to come back and stand behind his work. You're talking about demoing a shower and redoing it. And this time, hopefully they're going to be smart enough to, have it done, by code and with permitting and everything. But I doubt that the general contractor would want to eat that kind of money. So he may not, he say, oh, well, the warranty's up on it, this is all on you now. And that's why, as a homeowner, you have to protect yourself. You have to make sure that you have, a good, reputable general contractor. My Florida license, you can go on there and you can see everything about that contractor, whether they're a good contractor, what kind of hits they have on their license as far as the jobs they've done. The other thing you want to see is when they bring in a subcontractor, you have different grades of subcontractors. So as we told you about the CRC, the CBC, and the CGC for the general contractor, you have a CAC, and then you have a CEC. And so you have these are state recognized licenses. That means that you are a licensed plumber if you're a CFC. CAC, you are a state licensed master AC person. Same thing with electrician. CEC is a state license. You are a master electrician. They also have an LCC, which is what Collier County's licensing is for your basically a certificate of completion for licensing in the county. You can only work in Collier County, but you're not state recognized. You are not a master of your trade. Same thing goes in Lee County. I think it's called a LEC for Lee County or something similar to that. So you're only licensed to work in Lee County. And do not be fooled by these licenses, because there are plenty of people who have plumbing companies, electrical companies, AC companies who have only those LCC licenses, and they could not pass the state test. And that is a key thing, because you have to have certain required knowledge on a state test in order to obtain the state certified license. If you do not, and I know several plumbing companies now who did not have that knowledge and that ability to obtain that state certification, so they fell back to the next best thing in order to have a company. And that's something you have to ask yourself. Do you really want somebody who didn't have the knowledge of their trade to get a master in their trade? So you have to ask yourself, do you want the master or do you want his apprentice?
Part of all of this is for the education of the audience on any type of remodels. Remember, from a remodel standpoint, in order to pull a permit in any job that's what we call kitchen takeout, right, Brian? Yeah. And baths takeout, that's how really permitted in there. A general contractor can get a demolition permit, right? We demo all the kitchen, and then once we get a demolition permit, we can kind of see things after that. That's best for me, because I'd rather go in and say, okay, tear everything out. Let's make sure the wire for the range is correct, right, Juan?
Make sure you have 4 wires for the range. Make sure you don't have aluminum wire.
That's right. And 4 wires is important. I had to pull a range out the other day for this remodel, and they looked at me and they said, well, what does it matter? I mean, it's been working fine. Why does it matter, Juan, to have 4 wires?
You want to have the 4th wire for equipment ground, and that's what that 4th wire is. 3 wires was 2 hots, and what they considered it to be a shared neutral ground. So what ended up happening with technology progressing and circuit boards and whatnot being installed in these new appliances, it required a neutral. So they were using the ground as to complete the circuit for these this equipment and these new appliances. Well, also finding the fact that if you lost your ground, you were heating up the metal, the equipment.
And when you say heat, you're talking about voltage.
Voltage, yeah. You were.
Let's get that straight.
Yeah.
When we say we lose a neutral, we're talking about voltage. We're not heating any of them. The oven already heated up. Yeah. But if you physically touch it, right?
You physically touch it, and actually just got a service call today about that.
For 240 volts.
A dryer. But, so then, your equipment gets electrified.
It loses a neutral, and then now the closest ground is who?
You don't have one in a 3-wire.
So who touches it?
Well, yeah, exactly. The person that touches it, they become the ground now. They become the path to ground. So now with 4-wire system, now you have what we call an equipment ground. And what ends up happening there, if your equipment, the outer shell, the metal of that appliance ever gets electrified, it has a path to ground, and it'll fault, which it'll trip the breaker, which is a safety.
But nowadays in the kitchens, it's changed so much. And I was going to go through my story here shortly, but I wanted to go over those kitchens. Again, the process for permitting is, first for me as a contractor, is the demolition of it. I can get a demolition permit, take the cabinets out, take the sinks out, take everything out, take a look at all the wiring, and then the first thing I'm going to see, Brian, is copper pipe or something that's probably CPVC, right? And then I'm going to tell the customer to change over to PEX, right?
Well, you're going to get a demolition permit, and then you're going to have the correct subs come in.
Right. And then we're going to look at the right stuff. And we want to make sure that the job's done right. So again, I go over the process of us getting a permit. We have to set of drawings for this also. So one of the things that people don't understand is that they don't have a set of drawings, because the guy said he could go to Home Depot, go pick out what you need, and then come on back and we can install it for whatever it is. And I think this is the problem that we're running into with remodels, is the process correctly is to first get everything done before that. And one of the things we talk about is getting the cabinets picked out, tops, doing the things that you need to prep before you start the job. Once you do start the job, then you're going to take the demolition out, and then we're going to get measurements back for the cabinets. But the process for us to get first started was a drawing into the county, telling them what we're doing. And then from there, right, Juan, we're going to take that drawing and apply for a demolition permit, showing the county we're doing that. And then in the next breath, we're going to bring in our subcontractors after the demolition is done, and then we're going to have them look at all the wiring, right?
Yes.
And the plumbing and the drains. Sometimes the drains are a problem too. Sometimes people got stacks going through the middle of their wall, and they figure they can just cut that out, right?
That's the funny part.
You're going to have to bring a licensed plumber in to do your disconnects and all that.
Yeah, you got to
before your demo.
Yeah, all that has to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, well, from the demo, it's all going to have to be demolition. But what the process for us to get a demo permit is to get everything pulled out. Once it's all pulled out, right, we're going to go out there, get the permit applied again to apply for a regular permit. Building permit. So we're going to apply for the building permit, and then that building permit, we're going to apply for a subcontractor with an electrician, subcontractor for a plumber, and then we're going to apply for that building permit with that. So from a remodel standpoint, when we talk about kitchens and baths, you need a licensed plumber and a licensed electrician and a general contractor with a license. That's the only 3 people, right? And then the flooring guy is under the general contractor's subcontractor agreement, right?
I mean, if you do have like dryer vents or, you might need an HVAC guy, but those are pretty much the 4 trades.
Yeah, most of the time I find that it's the county now for the last 3 or 4 years is required that the plumber has to be on the on the general permit and the electrical, because they know garbage disposals, dishwashers, they all become electrical and plumbing issues, right? So a lot of times they've learned now that I think the county's learned this. The contractors are still living off that dream that they can still do this,
Yeah,
right?
no longer can you rip out just countertops.
That's right. And there's no way without it. And I'd tell you, in the condo, you have to pull a permit. I mean, the condos we work for, before I even get up there, they want me to see their license. They want to see my insurances. Yeah. I got to send them. They got to be a part of my insurance, don't they? I have to send it to them.
Yeah, most of your HOAs, before you start working on one legally, they're going to require a submission of some kind so they know what type of work you're doing, who's going to be in there, and sometimes you even have to get approval before this can even move forward. Because, what people don't realize is, well, I own the condo. The association owns the building. You may own the interior of that condo, but a lot of times the association owns that building, and you're effectively, that general building.
I tell you what happens is most people get down here and then they go, I want to remodel 4 months now, right? And a lot of times you can't remodel until May 31st, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these condos won't
We
let
got
you.
a condo up in Bonita, high rise, and they had started the remodel. We can't even go back in till after the 8th of January.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, a lot of times it's called quiet work, right?
Yeah.
You can paint, you can put in a few switches. Anybody pulls out a drill and starts drilling in the
boy.
wall, there'll be 9 people down there knocking on your door. So season for me, I can only say from a condo standpoint is in May. I don't never really, I mean, if you hear somebody saying that they'll permit this job and do the right thing and it's in January, be careful of all that, because I know a lot of the associations won't allow you to work, until May. Or I don't even think, I mean, again, it just depends on the association guidelines, but majority of the condos I know you have to.
Especially near the beach because of the volume of traffic. You can hang that up.
Yeah, the beaches got, they got their own rules. I mean, lighting, look at that. We're going to have amber lights just for turtle lights. So one of the things, you got to understand. So the process we talk about is we get a demo permit. We get the plumbers in there. They get the electricians in there. We demo other things. The other thing from there is once we've had the permit, now, a lot of times we want to do a walkthrough, right, Juan?
Yeah, on electrical, we love doing walkthroughs because it just gets everybody on the same page.
Brian's like, you get your high. Brian's like, you get any cookies when you go for a walkthrough?
How far is this walkthrough?
Brian's like, walkthrough? I'll be there tomorrow.
Well, in a walkthrough, it allows us to suggest, a lot of ideas and different types of lighting that the customer may have not thought of, and it gives us a chance to bring that to light. And just to make sure that the contractor's on the same page, the homeowner's on the same page, and at the end of the day, the client gets what they're looking for.
Well, lighting, I got to tell you, being an electrician over the years, lighting is an important part of it, right?
Very important.
And I got to say, sometimes putting the plumbing in the wrong spot's even better. When you go, what'd you put it there for, right, Brian? I got to chip up the floor now. But I got to tell you, lighting is important because it's kind of a final product. Sinks, plumbing, it's all important, but the real part of it is to see it, right, Ryan?
Yeah. We provide the light, and that way you can see the nice fixtures that the plumbers install.
Yeah. Well, again, in the audience, we're just trying to educate you on the remodel side of this. This remodel thing, it can be hectic. I got to tell you, if you're doing a remodel with your husband and wife, that's even worse, probably. A lot of people take their own decisions in their hands.
Well, going back to what you said earlier about, planning everything and making sure everything's on schedule. If you do a DIY husband and wife team, and if you don't follow the right steps, you take a 3-week project into a 4-month project,
right.
And it just drags out.
The very much of the process I mean, beforehand started and all the things that we have, sink colors, right, Brian? Faucets. Where they at? Where'd you like? What state they in? I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't understand, and that remodel part is a very, very tough job. And I know it's a tough job. I mean, it's very hard for everybody, not to alone to have somebody that may not even. He may be maybe he's a good trim carpenter. Maybe he's a good drywall guy, right? I mean, we're all good in our own trade, and I say that because most guys are. The guys that went into business, the guys that I know went into business were good techs, right, Brian? They were good people in their field. The problem is that they couldn't find somebody just like them, right? I mean, I wish I could find 100, right, of me. I mean, I'll only take 5, but I think that's part of everybody's business. They always wish I had somebody like me, right, Gerald? Gerald, but they don't talk like me.
They don't talk like I do. Yeah.
If they did, Brian would be in trouble. Well, one of the things I kind of want to educate everybody on is to do the right thing on your own side to cover it. I mean, if you go to sell that unit, right? Here's another story. You go and remodel it, and next year you decide I want to move out of it. One of the things people don't understand from real estate value to the permitting part of what you did, the first thing out of the agent's mouth is, did you permit this?
Yeah, well, the second part of the permit thing is something I'm running into right now is, pulling a permit for a panel change out for a client of mine, and I got a failed permit notice, so I can't pull my permit until that permit's closed.
Right.
So, it was very vague, replacement of exterior fixture. Yeah.
That was a permit?
Yeah, it was a permit. That was
Change an
the scope
exterior
of work. So now I got to try to hunt.
Something.
Yeah.
Brian, is that like changing a wax ring?
Very busy. Right. So, now, I'm looking at a permit that I got to try to figure out where.
But it wasn't closed out.
It wasn't closed out. And it's very important that, when you get these permits, that you get them CO'd. That's closed out.
You just said it right there. Say it again.
CO'd.
One of the biggest things that people don't recognize is that a guy will say he'll pull a permit. Maybe he did pull the permit and never have an inspection ever again. And then a year later, you're going to be looking for where selling this, and somebody's going to go through the county permits and find out that you didn't even final out the job, right?
Yeah.
A CO, just so everybody understands, is a certificate of occupancy. So every time that you do a renovation, any contractor, anybody that does work for you and he pulls a permit, that's what you need to ask him out there in the audience is for a CO. If you get a CO from that contractor, that tells you that you got the permitted job, the inspectors came out, and they inspected everything, and everything was fine. If they say they pulled the permit and you never see another inspector after that, I would highly, highly call the county. Because that's a scary thought right there, because that part right there means that somebody's doing something wrong.
Well, when you get the CO, that pretty much just puts the seal on that permit saying, okay, it's finalized. The county's not going to come back for any last-minute stipulations. That's it. That project is done.
Well, what happens? What really happens is if you don't get that CO, a lot of times I find that the general contractor didn't pay the re-inspection fees. And they'll leave it hanging. I mean, you leave that hanging on the final, and a lot of guys will walk and never figure out they lost $2,000, and a homeowner owns $3,000 to the county for inspection fees that are failed, and never check to see if they got a CO.
And that's something I actually just ran into the other day. After Irma, there was an emergency response team that came from Texas, did a lot of work here in Collier County. We actually went on to one of their permits for over there on the west side of Naples, and he did the whole top floor of a building because, of course, it was hurricane damaged. They went through the CC process. Somebody else did the CO. So we went through, did shower pans, did the stub outs for everything for their completion of the CC. People come behind it, finished up the apartments, got the CO, and he called me the other day, said, hey, man, they said on the CC portion of ours, they didn't get the plumbing inspections. I was like, what do you want me to do? I mean, this guy was the general contractor, so he is the emergency response company that comes in. I said, I don't see how they got forward with the CO. He's like, well, the same thing happened with the AC guy. They didn't get any of their final inspections for the CC. And I was like, there's no way they could move forward with a CO. If they did, the county overlooked it. I said, you're going to be in trouble because, if they can't inspect a shower pan pressurized if the shower is completely tiled and somebody's living in the unit.
Is it a private inspector, you think, on it?
No, this was the county. I don't see how the county, got
they
past.
give them a CO, yeah. because you got, I mean, inspection fees. I mean, I know when I walk up to the counter, I got to pay my,
It
not
was
that I pay.
commercial.
It was commercial because it was a whole top floor of a building. So I mean, this is 10 units.
So you got to remember, if you don't get the certificate of completion and stuff, and it's commercial, there's a very good possibility they didn't get all the fire inspections.
Right. Well,
Which is a big issue.
Yeah.
Very big issue. So
That's
I mean,
why you
he's-
wouldn't get the CO.
He's sweating it because now he's waiting on the last of his money, but he didn't get a CC or certificate of completion to and they already started with the trim out and the build out of it to get the CO for the certificate of occupancy. So I mean, these are inspections that were
The inspections you're talking about, what Brian just said, that's something the audience needs to understand. We're not just rattling. When you have a condo, right, or a high rise,
correct.
there's fire alarm involved, right? One.
Sprinklers, yeah.
Well, there's a fire alarm, there's sprinklers, everything's tied to that permit. And a lot of times people don't realize that you got to call the fire department to get an inspection and a final CO.
Yes, they have to inspect all penetration points before everything is sealed because you have to be fireproof from one unit to the other. So if a fire breaks out on the fourth floor, you're not going to go between the penetrations. So all your electrical penetrations between there, any of your AC penetrations, your plumbing penetrations, fire cannot spread from one to the other. So there are fire stops. There are fire collars, fire wraps, fire caulk, everything they put into place to stop fire from transferring from one unit to the other. Those have to be inspected to ensure they're done correctly.
Before any walls are closed up, drywalled, etc.
Everything.
Tiled.
And then you have to have a final inspection anyways, because a lot of
Final
times
fire and
final
everything.
fire. So a lot of times you'll say in it, a final fire will get out there and fail it. And the guy said he got my building, what you're talking about. I got my inspections for all my mechanicals, and then he turns around and says to you, "You didn't get your plumbing, right? He didn't tell you."
Well, the crazy thing about that is as a general contractor, it is not the subcontractor's responsibility. So he has to be the one to go out there and get these, because I mean, this is his permit. We're just subs. So we don't do any of the inspection calling. I mean, this is all falls under the general contractor. This is what Anthony was saying earlier about he is the person who is going to do the coordinating. He is pulling this permit. He is coordinating inspections. He is being there with each inspector to ensure that things are done correctly. If that general contractor does not take those steps and do those things correctly, these type of situations will arise where you will have things move forward and not done correctly, and then you have to backtrack. I mean, you're talking about 10 units who didn't get a final plumbing. And I mean, if they didn't get a final plumbing for the penetrations between the drain, I mean, you're talking about tearing out a whole shower and starting over because you have to have fireproofing on the shower drains between two units. There has to be fireproofing there. If he didn't get that inspection for that one, or if he didn't get the final and didn't get the pan inspection, because you have to put water in a pan for shower pan, a vinyl membrane pan. It has to hold water. If it does not hold water, it fails it. And that's something that,
If it don't hold water, what's going to happen, Brian?
you're going to flood the unit
It's
below
probably
you.
down below you, right?
That's right.
By that time, you better be running down the stairs to see what's going on.
That's exactly right. And that's why these inspections are there. I know that people are very perturbed with Collier County because of how much they're stepping in with
It's a
permitting
drag. It is a
and
drag.
everything. And a lot of homeowners see that as a hassle. These hassles are to protect you. It's one thing if you're on the second floor and you're mad about it, but think about the guy on the first floor. He's the one that's going to catch everything. If
Think about this. What if he's on the 20th floor? Because I got to say,
Well, they're on the second. They should be thinking about the person on the third floor.
I'll tell you what, in 30 years, I've never seen an unpermitted job where someone has filled that pan with water. That pan gets installed,
Yeah, and then they walk
usually
out
by
and
the
tile it
tile
up.
guy, because the plumber doesn't
Right,
want any
he's gone.
responsibility on the pan,
Right.
because there's no permit, it's not getting inspected. So usually the tile guy or someone will throw the pan in, and right after that, the process starts with the dry pack, the tile, and wrapping up the shower without ever being water tested.
And these are all the procedures, right, Juan?
Yeah.
These are all the things you have to follow from a standpoint of renovations in a condo or anything that's above second floor, in my opinion, right?
That's
and the
right.
fire alarm and the fire inspections, that's something at the end most of the time, because we end up dealing with the fire inspections for smoke detectors,
Yes.
right? So tying into the systems and making sure they work. So from a remodel standpoint, you really got to understand the process for remodeling your kitchens and bathrooms. I mean, anybody can tell you what they have to do and tell you how to do it and say it's not that easy, right? That's the first thing out of people's mouth. It's not that easy. But you got to say, I mean, think about the repercussions you could take if you didn't run 3 wires to it and it was a 4-wire range.
Well, yeah, I mean, oh Jesus! If I
And
had
I've
to do that
seen it.
after the fact,
I've seen that happen. I've seen houses burn down just because of that. And if you lose a neutral, that's what the possibilities can happen. From a remodel standpoint, I would state, if you don't feel comfortable about a guy saying not pulling permits, give us a call at American Contracting at 239-353-4389. That's 239-353-4389.
Okay, so I mean, with that being said, there are a lot of questions that can be raised about contracting, the ins and outs of it, what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. And we do not want you as the general homeowner to feel like, you're lost with this. If you have any kind of questions that you need to ask, you're not sure of the process, what needs to be done, what needs to be pulled, reach out to us. You can contact Anthony, AC at theamericantrades.com. That's AC at theamericantrades.com. Shoot him an email. Ask him the questions you want. We will bring them on air, bring them up. We will tell you the answers, the correct process for doing it. You can also go to preventplumbing.com. If you go there, on our website, there is a tab under there that says radio broadcasting. It'll show you the link to here to 92.5 so you can listen to us. It also below that has a spot where you can contact us with your questions. So fill out that box. Give us your name, your email address. Fill out that box with your questions. We'll bring it up on air. We'll give you the answers you need to get it done correctly so you can protect your home.
That's right. That's AC at theamericantrades.com. AC at theamericantrades.com. Is that correct, Joe?
That's it.
And Brian, don't fret.
Call Prevent.
What's that phone number, Brian?
239-596-5533.
And Juan, over at American Electrical?
yeah, you can give us a call at 239-353-4389, or take a look at our website at www.americanelectricalservice.net. We do have a section in there where you can contact us. You can shoot us an email if you have any questions as well. That'll go to our front desk and get forwarded over to me, and we'll respond back. And just shoot them over. If you have anything, we'll be happy to speak with you.
Yeah, I like I said, we talk about remodels, we talk about code, we talk about permits, we talk about a lot of things, right, Juan?
Yes.
And a lot of times we talk about plumbing, and a lot of times we joke around with Brian and his turkey dinners. Juan, did you want to talk about electrical today?
Yeah, actually, when I got into Contact Us, I had a couple of questions that came in. And, one of them here is someone wrote into us, I've changed the bulb and I light mounted in my backyard, but it still won't light up. Do I have a short? So there's a couple of things that can happen with a fixture that's mounted in your backyard. I do see a lot of people install barn lights on a pole, or they'll do a wall pack, or some sort of outdoor fixture, a floodlight, and if it's a floodlight, it could be a motion floodlight. Well, a lot of people don't understand that sometimes motion floodlights have a photocell built into it. That way they're not kicking on during the day. So, you can check if...
Barnyard floodlights do. They have them on the top.
They have them on the top. So with the motion floods, you have to double check if that photocell has gone bad, because that would inhibit it for the motion to turn on, at nighttime. And then for the barnyard lights, it does have a top-mounted photocell. What is a photocell? It's a photoelectric eye that senses the daylight, and when it gets dark, it automatically turns on from dusk till dawn. So then you'll have that issue, or you actually may have a short. That's very possible, and those are the questions I ask. How long has it been in place?
A lot of times I could tell you, a lot of people put wire in the ground for those barnyard lights, probably about 6 inches, and they've been digging around it for 4 years, and now they hit it, right?
Exactly. So that's when I become a little bit a detective. I start asking questions. How long has it been installed? Have you changed it out lately? Do you remember who installed it? Where did it come from? So on and so forth. So I can get a better idea of what I'm working with to try to help you over the phone. And if I can't, then we'll be more than happy to send over a tech.
And not when you say barnyard lights, a lot of times everything now is going to LED, right?
Yeah. Even you can buy a barnyard light now with LED.
Do you really?
Yeah, you can buy those now.
From an audience standpoint, I would suggest highly, right? One, from an LED standpoint, this is important. These are the times to start changing these bulbs out that you have in your home, right?
Yes, and that's the other thing too is, when retrofitting from a HID bulb or lamp, I should say, HID lamp, you got to make sure that the photo cell is LED compatible. Because what ends up happening is you'll put that LED bulb in and it'll just start flickering.
Well, that's going to get me to that other point. Talk about them photocells that we got there, our GPS road, right?
Yeah, so, on our end, we kind of started shying away from using photocells. And then what we use is a GPS light lock. And what that is that it's a sensor, it's a GPS sensor that works with your longitude and latitude of your area. And it automatically always knows when it's dusk and dawn.
Brian, can we put that on your van?
Yeah.
Brian goes, I'm going to park it in public shopping. Leave it there for the rest of the day. Well, one of the things that we were talking about from renovations that we were talking earlier and about LED lights, a lot of times now we're doing retrofitting lighting in a lot of these kitchens, right?
We do a lot of
Under-counter
retrofitting.
lights are changed to LED.
Yeah, so what I kind of like to do is take out the old halogen lamps, the
The
best
ones that burn your fingers on them?
those are the ones that actually burn your cabinets.
I've seen those.
I actually had a client tell me that she wanted to replace because the halogen hockey puck mounted underneath her cabinet was melting her coconut oil in her jar.
Oh.
Because when it's cold, it's a paste.
That's right.
I thought he was going to say she was lighting her cigarette with it.
She probably could too.
Does she have medical. Does she have a froggy voice? Every time I gotta light up a cigarette, I gotta light it up in the cabinet. Well, a lot of people don't understand about LED, but the longevity of LED is almost 10 years, 20 years, right?
10 years, 20 years, depends on how many hours you use it in a day, but it's good quality light.
And the kitchens, a lot of times now with the kitchens, we're doing everything LED. Everything
Yes.
we use LED dimmers. People got to understand about LED dimmers.
LED dimmers, exactly. The dimmer itself got to be compatible with the type of driver that you're using, whether it be electronic or magnetic. But us, ourselves, in American Electrical, we like to solder everything and make sure we have a nice, solid connection.
Yeah. The audience has to understand it. When you hire us, right, Brian, you're getting the best, right? I'm not going to say somebody else is the best. I'm going to talk about us being the best. How about we just say we're good?
Yeah.
Right? We're great.
We're great.
We're right. Wow.
We make America great
We
again.
make America great. Well, anyways, like I said, a lot of things that we talk about on the show is based on renovations and repairs. And we're not just remodel guys from a house. We can do pole lights now retrofit to LED, right, Juan?
Yes, either
Parking lot lights, street lights, we do everything.
parking lot lights, street lights, we do wall packs. We look at everything that's going to be most cost effective and the best route to go for you at the end of the day. And also, we kind of look at the comparison of what's existing to new installation. If you're going to need an equivalent light, lumen output, or a little bit something that's a little bit more stronger in distance wise.
Yeah, LED, when it first came out, was difficult for me because every time everybody used to say, well, it's 100,000 hours in 10 years. And I thought to myself, where's it been plugged in for 10 years, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I kept saying to myself, how do you get a warranty for 10 years? It's been sitting in a corner for, I really did. But I have been to test centers and I have seen lights and I know they burn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I mean, it's still got to be on for 5 years or something, right? I mean, I wanted to, all right, boss, 5 years, it's up.
Well,
how'd that work out?
Well, that's the reason why we
I got
use.
fluorescents that are 10 years old.
Oh yeah, the closet light don't
20
count.
years old, I think they are.
Well, we use reputable manufacturers when it comes to the LEDs.
And American built, right?
Yeah, because what ends up happening if 2 years down the road we're having an issue, I can go back to the supplier I bought it from and say, hey, the manufacturer says I have a 5-year warranty with it. Get me another one.
And it's with everybody, right? We want to make sure that when you do the job on anybody, you want to make sure that you're getting a warranty when a guy walks out, right, Joe?
That's right.
I mean, think about it. I mean, if you hire somebody that said they can do a kitchens and bath remodel, majority of the time they're not going to walk away and give you the warranty of whatever they given. And they have to understand that because I know that people, like I said earlier, look for the best deal. Down in Southwest Florida, they think everybody's got a garage sale going on. I wish I could go to Publix and say, hey, that bread ain't that expensive. It can't be. Brian, would you do that with the turkey dinner?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They'd kick you out. They wouldn't give you the turkey dinner, right? They'd give you a ride out. But one of the things people down here are really looking for is the best deals, right? And a lot of things I want people to understand from a deal standpoint is we do respect the first responders in this town, right? We respect the veterans of this country. We give them discounts. We give them what we can to help out in this county. And legitimately, I got to tell you, Gerald, a lot of times when we give discounts, it's only because we're trying to help somebody out, right? That's not got nothing to do with, I mean, I want to compare myself with anybody because I don't I've seen so many people show up with $20 deals, right? A $20 deal, a $20
There's
deal.
nobody in this town, and that big company you're referring about. There's nobody in this town who's going to be able to show up for $20. There's going to be so much added on that.
Much
on
less
the backside.
$19.99.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just gonna say, I can tell you that I had to show up for a guy, Gene. I remember you guys going to my Gene, right? My veteran Gene, that's 95 years old. I get a call from the neighbor last week, and he says, Anthony, I just seen that company, and they're over there, man. There's 3 trucks out there. So Anthony, please stop by and see it. Remember this one? So I had to get out of the truck. I had to get out of the shop and run down to his house, and there was 3 trucks there. Now, me, Brian, I walk up and I go, what's wrong? And you know what they say? They're all talking by the truck, right? And they go, well, we think he's got a problem in the line that's not draining, right? This is what he says to me. And I looked at him, I go, did you go to the septic tank yet? You know what he says? Oh, this is a septic tank? I mean,
Oh boy.
we're out in the country, right? We're out in the country. Where's it going to go? I mean, in the backyard?
This same company, I went to a property for property management. This same company spent 3/4 of a day out there before the property management realized what was going on, called us out there. There was a line, a clean out in the front where there was a massive rock and it was filled with sand, and they were quoted more than $8,000 to replace it. I get on site, I look at it, and then I walk around to the back of the building where the clean outs are, release them, walk back around to the front, and the lady was telling me about it. She says, no, the problem's here. I said, ma'am, that big rock that y'all are looking at down there that the other company quoted you all that money for, I said, that's a rusted gate valve handle. I said, it's not even a rock. That's a chunk of metal. She says, how do you know? I took my prod, struck it, and when it struck all the corrosion off the top, she goes, well, that is a handle. I said, that's not your clean out. Your clean outs are on back. I said, I've already released.
Shut off?
It was a shut-off valve, an old shut-off valve for the irrigation. And this company
I hate to see him on a date.
yeah. And so
My ending story is that we found the septic tank, right? I found the clean out. I popped the drain, and it looked like a fountain coming out. And Gene goes, where'd that come from? But it did cost $20 for him to find that out. But, call us out. I'll tell you right now, you call us out for a problem, we can't figure it out. We ain't going to charge you, right, Juan?
No, we do free estimates.
Yeah, part of that is that, I'm not going to come out there and I see something, and I know I get this a lot of times. I mean, hey, my lights are blinking. Can you just come by and tell me how much it's going to cost to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And I know from that factor, I'll probably be somebody that can't afford it. And that's part of it.
Yeah, and then what I tend to like to do, and the first question is like, how much does it come out? Well, what's going on? I talk to the client and say, hey, what's going on? And I give them some feedback. We conversate back and forth to where either we come to a resolution or I have to send someone out and take a look at it.
And not to say it, you said it earlier, I mean, but with our business, a lot of times, I mean, we try to help people over the phone.
Yes.
And I know that's with everybody here because a lot of times I get calls on the phone and first thing the guy says is my breaker's tripping inside the bathroom and GFI, right?
GFI.
He's got 7 women home for Christmas and they're all using blow dryers on one receptacle, right?
Yep.
And not to say for the kitchens now, people don't recognize arc fault breakers have to be.
Well, that just happened. That just happened on a remodel that we did, to be honest with you. The client calls back and says, hey, my island's not working. And I'm like, well, sir, it may be one of your appliances. And that's one of the biggest thing is that, when a remodel is done, existing appliances go back in, toasters, blenders, whatever the case may be. And automatically it's presumed that there's something wrong with the electrical, when in fact it's just the appliance. It's causing an issue.